right, so we are moving on. This is like the quickest calls I've ever done. We're moving on to, this is Dave in the UK who wants to talk about transitioning out of religion. You're having an issue shedding traditions and habits, and you're on with Tracie and John.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, guys. How you doing?
Good.
Just to add a little bit of context, if you don't mind, around 4 weeks ago, went on a weekend away with church, and it was really problematic. I started to challenge a lot of the ways that I thought about church, just because it was one of those where they're speaking in tongues and they're saying, run around and we're all going to shout, Jesus is alive.
Okay.
So my question is, since then, I've been really just challenging a lot of my beliefs, but it's been years and years and years of me following this religion, so it's still predominant in everyday life. My question is, how do you let go of those things? How do you get back to a point where there's not prompts constantly about religion in everyday life?
Might be something better for you to address, because I never had to do that.
He's talking to me, not you.
Yeah.
Address it yourself. No, that's not.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at Tracie if you're not watching the screen.
I don't know if you can see
But yeah, I never had to shed belief, so I could sort of speak academically.
When you talk about prompts in life, like, can you define for me a little bit better? I did hear what you said, but I don't know if I caught quite what you meant by that.
Sure thing. So like for example, first thing in the morning, the thing that you would do is kind of pray. If something good happens, your mind switches over to God. Things just like really general things like that. But the issue is, like, it's tied into so much of, it's kind of all consuming, to the point that I'm trying to let go of them and get to a point of where I can actually challenge them, but I still have it juxtaposition.
Okay, so I mean, do you, at this point, they've got you listed as a theist. What is your position on God's existence at this point?
This is the thing. I don't know, and I can't see any logic behind it. That's the difficulty now.
Right, but does that change how you feel about it?
Yes, it does.
Okay.
So the sorry, I'm not getting the words out correctly.
That's okay. Take your time.
It is a case of my mind's constantly going back to religion, and for example, you mentioned before about the community aspect. It's a case of now walking away from community and friendships and relationships that I have with people. It's walking away from almost a lot of the morals and the values that were built on religious texts, and now I'm having to reestablish myself. And it's like, where do I go from here when I know the thing that I used to be extremely devoted to is crumbling?
I'm trying to think of how to craft a response here. There's a lot to unpack there, right? So this isn't just about the prompts. So you've got the prompts, but you've also got loss that you're dealing with, right?
Yeah.
You're leaving the church. Was that like a public sort of thing? Are there people that were in touch with you outside of church that you now have to deal with those situations as well?
Yeah, so first thing I got was a message after the first week I didn't go to church saying, hey, I noticed you weren't in. And then I kind of was message saying, look, I noticed the absolute exploitation and manipulation that was going on at that event, and it was horrible. And they were like, oh, come for a coffee, we'll talk about it, blah, blah, blah. And they just saw it as like they're trying to reel me back in. Mm-hmm. But there's it's walking away from community now, and that's what's difficult. It's friendships, it's family, it's pretty much a lot.
Do you have friends and family who are not part of the church that you attended?
No, not really, no.
Okay, so that's everybody for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think the first thing that you want to do, even though you're talking about how to respond to a feeling that you should be praying first thing in the morning, I actually think your number one priority should be in finding a local community that you can get support from. All right, because it sounds like that to me is the bigger issue here. The habitual stuff and the feelings of all the habits will fade over time.
Your habits will change.
Yeah. You've only been away for a week. And so I think for you, part of kind of calming down and de-stressing is going to be locating a group near you. Are you near any large towns?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Okay.
Near Manchester.
Okay. It's possible that they have a humanist group or a free thinkers group. Maybe in the UK, I don't know if they have like specifically atheist groups. They might. I know that there's some in Scotland. Like I have a friend that's a Scottish guy with atheists in Scotland. But if I were you, I would start looking for humanists in the UK. I would start looking for free thinkers. I would Googling these terms, right? Skeptics. Try to find those terms and see in that town, type in like skeptics plus that large metropolis near you, type in humanists plus that metropolis near you. Now, I will give you a heads up that I've had conversations with some of the folks in the UK, and some of the humanist groups are very different than what we consider humanist groups here in the US, right? So they actually have a lot more strong atheist views. Here in the US, humanist groups are really more kind of concerned about just doing social positive things. And in the UK, some of the groups that I've heard about or had interactions with were a lot more I'm going to say anti-theistic. And I don't know if I'm broad brushing this, and I apologize if I am. And if you're part of a humanist group in the UK and you're saying, hey, whoa, no, that's not my experience, that's not what we do, I don't mean to imply that that's like every humanist group. I just know that some of my friends that are involved with those groups in the UK describe a much stronger anti-theistic leaning, and that could be isolated, right? It could just be that those are a minor few groups. But I do want to give you kind of a heads up on that. But if you need support, that's the first thing you're going to have to do is you're not going to have your friends, you're not going to have your family around. How is your family reacting to this?
So they're not aware. Thankfully, that person that I've spoken to hasn't spoke to them, but it sounds about right. I mean, replacing a community with a different supportive community rather than just completely detaching from everything.
Yeah, and I mean, it could be that the community that you reach out to, that you find, is literally like we go to the pub once a week, right? And it might not be the same level of connection that you're getting from your church group. But it'll still be people that you can connect with and reach out to and maybe start forming some bonds with. I would, try your luck with maybe a couple different groups if you can find them, just see where you fit best. But you definitely have to start there. The other stuff will fall into place. Those feelings that you're having of religious obligation will start to fade as time goes by. It's just a matter of you not being away from it that long.
Yeah. The only other question off the back of that, thank you, by the way, would be, how did you, at the point of leaving your religion and coming towards atheism and then becoming an atheist, begin to establish, I know you talk a lot about how you build your values, and a lot of people will say, well, we have a scripture, that's how we build our values and our beliefs.
So, I mean, basically what you're saying is that the rug has been pulled out from everything.
Yeah.
And you feel like now you're looking around and there's this pile of rubble where structure used to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's that. Religion has a large structure of how you structure your day, your life.
It makes everything easy, right? It makes it all easy. Yeah. It's right there in the book.
Stops you making decisions.
Yeah, it's all black and white. Well, in your case, I guess it was charismatic, so it's God speaking to people and reaching people and touching people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the point is, there is no easy solution. It's not like you can go grab the other manual and it's gonna and read it and there's your answers. The hard work now is all the stuff that religion basically told you was so easy. You now get to do the work of putting your nose to the grindstone and rebuilding from the ground up and literally having to question everything. And what I can promise you is that as much as you question and as much as you rebuild, 10 years from that day that you started this journey, you will look back on it and realize, oh my God, I'm still carrying these religious ideas with me that I thought I didn't even know, were in my head. These religious prejudices, these religious attitudes and judgments. It's so hard to ferret that stuff out of your brain once it's been driven in there so deeply and so pervasively. It's almost like somebody taking a glass and shattering it in your brain, and all the little shards just go everywhere. And now the job is to try and go find them and to to fix those pieces of your brain and put in something there that isn't the shattered glass. And it's tough, right? It's tough because you're going to have to ask a lot of people about their views on things. You're going to have to start looking around at how other people formulate these things. The main thing is just get as much information as you can possibly get, and then you take that away and you consider it and you think to yourself, what fits with Dave? Right? Like what is a fit for Dave here? Like, does this resonate with me? Does this not resonate with me? Because you're literally talking now about core values, which are not really necessarily logically derived, right? Like what you care about.
Yeah.
And so you're going to have to look at who you are now and rebuild your identity from the ground up. Basically, there's something called achieved identity. If you want to look up achieved identity, foreclosed identity, Google some of this and just look at identity theory, and you'll start seeing like how your identity develops and what has happened to you. And I think that what's going on is that you're coming out of something called a foreclosed identity, where you basically accepted some things very, very committedly that were not deeply investigated. And now what you're basically saying is, I can't just go and commit to something like that without investigating it again. And how do I investigate it?
100%, yeah. And what you mentioned there, like accepting something without investigating it. The way that I would investigate things is go, okay, here's some proof. Let's read a book written by a Christian author on how I can look at this from a Christian perspective to try and keep my faith, rather than actually just challenging it from a much more logical sense.
Yeah.
It's true that it's a case of rebuilding, but if anything, it's a bit more authentic rather than just.
And this is a big reason why I personally get kind of pissed at the dismissiveness of people who say, "Oh, indoctrination is just like educate. It's just education." And it's like, you've gone to school, I assume, Dave, like regular school.
Yeah.
Okay, you've been to school and you've been to church. Do you think indoctrination and education are the same thing?
No.
Right. And so when people say that, it's like I just want to punch a wall, because it's not the same thing. And if you'd ever had your head screwed with in the way they screw with your head when they indoctrinate you, you would never say that learning math is just like that. Right? This messes up your reality. If someone came to me tomorrow and said, "Hey, math is wrong," it would screw up some things for me, right? Not too much. But I mean, I would be able to adjust or whatever. But what you're describing is how this screwed up your the entire foundation of your life just got ripped away.
Yeah, that's it. But at the end of the day, it is an opportunity to rebuild. It's an opportunity to let go of the things that I kind of accepted blindly and actually test things, which I think maybe is the structure that I'm looking for. It's the one which comes from trial and thought and investigation as opposed to blind acceptance.
Right.
But thank you. I really appreciate that. I really appreciate your time as well. Yeah,
be true to yourself, though. That's the main thing. When you rebuild your identity, make sure that the stuff you attach to yourself feels like Dave, and that it reflects you and your values and what you think is the way to go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And let us know, Dave.
Have a great evening now.
Let us know, Dave. Let us know, Dave, how you're doing in a little while. It's going to be a kind of a long and I'm sure painful.
Yeah, feel free to
process
check in.
And I just want to wish you the best and let us know how it goes.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you. I'll be sure to check in. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
A great day, is it for you guys?
It's Mother's Day here. Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Have a great Mother's Day. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye-bye.